Continuing, how are the Islanders using their practice time? We'll talk about what's going on in Islanders practice and how the team hopes to benefit from this extended time off. Plus, we take a look at three of the younger players on the NHL's oldest team and how they're helping this team take things to the next level. That, our Islanders birthday of the day, and a lot more, all coming up on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. So glad you could join us here today as we talk Islanders hockey, and thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We really do appreciate it. We're free and available on all platforms, and we've got a lot to discuss on today's show. The Islanders off until January 13th as far as games are concerned, but that doesn't mean there's not a lot happening to this hockey team. We'll talk about what's going on at Islanders practice this week as the team continues to work toward the resumption of game play. We will also be discussing three of the younger players on this roster. Yes, the Islanders are the oldest team in the NHL as far as average age goes, but there are some younger players who are making a difference on this team. We'll talk about that later on in today's show. And an Islander player who was briefly a member of the team and helped them make the playoffs during his short stay on the island. He will be our Islanders birthday of the day. All that and more coming up on today's show. If you've got something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, a topic that you'd like to hear us talk about on the show, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you give us your first name and where you're from, we are happy to mention you on the show when we talk about whatever it is that you happen to want to talk about. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. And I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So always great to interact with fans, to give you some insight and analysis to games while they're going on, and to answer questions and just talk about what we're all seeing out there. So follow on Twitter, and just great to interact with everybody during games and really any time. Let's get started with what's going on around the New York Islanders right now. And look, Barry Trotz still not back with the team, taking care of some personal matters. So Lane Lambert is running practice. And look, part of this does have to do with the fact that Lambert, who has been an assistant with Barry for a long time in Nashville, in Washington, now with the Islanders for the last 4 seasons. You know, a lot of people are saying that Lambert is being groomed to be the next coach somewhere, whether, obviously Trotz not planning on retiring anytime soon. The Islanders' job not up for grabs. But, Trotz is trying to promote Lambert as a real possibility of being a head coach somewhere. And he probably does deserve it based on everything that he has accomplished as an assistant under Barry Trotz. So he's been running things while Trotz is away. And, a lot of this for the Islanders is a question of getting into a routine and working on some of the things that they've tried to work on. Here's what Scott Mayfield had to say. We play a really structured game, and the details are really important to how we play as a team. So it's about just getting all those details down. If you do it in practice every single time, it's going to translate over into the game. Not playing games right now, so it's all about just working in practice. Cal Clutterbuck added this. It helps. We've got maybe a little older team. I think we know that when you have the opportunity to get a couple of practices in, you could really focus on what you're doing and put some effort into it. It just allows you to be prepared when the puck does drop. And look, the Islanders right now, 5-2-4 in their last 11 games. 14 points out of the last 11 games. Not bad. Need to do a little better than that if you hope to gain some ground and get back into the playoff race. But this is a start. And instead of 5-2-4, if they could go, 7-2-2, that would, I think, make a big difference. But look, right now, working on things like the power play, which really has been a difference, been better for this team over the last 5 or 6 games. And you see the difference as far as how that translates into more goal scoring and more wins. Look, this Islanders team has, as we mentioned, picked up 14 points in their last 11 games. You don't do that without the power play clicking. Now, you also have Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri back at practice. Ryan Pulock skating, but still no timetable for his return, and hopefully a little bit more information on that soon. So, look, NHL rules, by the way. And here, after you test positive and miss time with symptoms, you don't have to get tested again for 90 days. There have been more than a dozen Islander players who have already suffered from COVID and therefore will not need testing for 90 days, well, a little less than that since they actually returned to the lineup. But that should prevent the Islanders from being the cause of any COVID issues and COVID cancellations in the future. Now, whether the potential attendance at games does affect it or other teams coming down with an outbreak of COVID affects it, travels, limitations, there are still things that can make it more difficult. But right now, the Islanders busy working and realistically shouldn't have COVID be a major problem. The only caveat, both goalies, Ilya Sorokin and Semyon Varlamov, have not, as far as we know, come down with COVID. And therefore, it's possible one or both of them could miss time, but hopefully that will not be an issue. As for Lane Lambert, what he had to say, we're pretty excited at the opportunity to work on stuff that we haven't been able to work on because of the games and because we haven't had a full group with COVID or whatever. We're in a pretty good situation from that standpoint now. So there's things we can work on now and use this time to our advantage because there won't be a lot of practice time after we start. And there is no doubt about that. So look, as far as the Islanders are concerned, they're in a situation now where after this break, you get the feeling that there's going to be a lot of games and not a lot of time. And hopefully the Islanders will be healthy, free of major COVID outbreaks, and ready to play winning hockey. And using this week and a half that they have off in between games is definitely something that will benefit this team once play resumes. And hopefully, they will be able to pick up where they left off, or maybe even improve upon where it is they were when they left off and they were playing much better hockey, Islanders style hockey, when things shut down last week. So fingers crossed, and hopefully things will improve. We've got a lot more to talk about on today's show. 3 young Islanders players who are helping this veteran team gain momentum and play better. We've got that, our Islanders birthday of the day, and a lot more still to discuss on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. So, wanted to talk about 3 Islanders players who have been difference makers. And I'm going to start with, I think, the one that has been the most obvious, and that is Noah Dobson. Dobson, the third-year defenseman. And look, he started off this season a bit slow. I think a lot of players on this team did. But what we've seen from Dobson more than anything is a growing confidence. And it's not that he wasn't confident in his ability, but he seems much more comfortable right now in what he needs to do, when he can take a chance, when he should gamble, when he should stay back, what he can do to disrupt opposing forwards, when he should pinch, and just when he has room to skate without hurting the team. And that really is important. Zdeno Chara had this to say about Noah Dobson. He said, basically talking about confidence, that's huge for anyone who plays this game or any athlete. Confidence has a lot to do with your success. I think you could see in his game that he's obviously making some plays, being there for us in crucial times. He's using his hockey sense, his skating ability, and obviously he's playing really, really well right now. Another veteran defenseman, Adam Pelech, added this about Dobson. He's been playing great lately. He's obviously a super talented player. I've known that since the first time I saw him play, and it's really all coming together for him, especially this last month or whatever it's been. He's taking his game to a new level, and we're all thrilled to see it. And it's vital for the Islanders that Dobson comes through, because he is really the only bona fide puck-moving defenseman out of the starting regular six that this team places on the ice. Robin Salo, yeah, he has the potential to be that, but he's kind of where Dobson was a year or two ago, not quite ready confidence-wise to put it all together. He has the talent, he has the ability, he needs the experience and that little extra touch confidence, and hopefully he'll get it. Meanwhile, two forwards that are younger that I wanted to touch on. One is obviously Kieffer Bellows, and we've seen him starting to play more of his style. And Bellows, 23 years old, and that's the time that you drafted at 18. It's been 5.5 years since the Islanders drafted Bellows, and you start thinking, well, maybe he's not going to pan out. By the time you're 23, you're not so much a young prospect anymore. It's more or less expected that by 23, a first-round draft choice is going to start paying dividends. Well, there are two groups that may be a little bit of an exception for: defensemen and power forwards. Those two groups take a little longer to reach their full potential, and Bellows is more or less a power forward. Right now, 5 of the last 7 games, he has been getting a point, 3 goals, 7 points in 7 games. And it's not just that. We've talked so much on this podcast how a Barry Trotz team, young players, it's not necessarily what they do with the puck, it's what they do without the puck that also matters to the coaching staff. Are you sound defensively? Do you back check? Do you stay within the framework of the defensive system that this team lays out so carefully and plays meticulously? Because if you don't, you're kind of hurting the team on the back end, even if you're helping them up front. But Bellows, basically, again, a lot like Dobson, starting to feel more confident. And that's what Lane Lambert had to say. He says he sees that Bellows is a little bit more comfortable and confident. And I think that's basically been the key for him. So, yeah, and Bellows is being more physical. He is being more aggressive. And unlike so many other players on this team, Kieffer Bellows is not afraid to shoot the puck. And that does make a big difference because the Islanders need that. And as long as Bellows can continue to play well away from the puck and be smart away from the puck, he'll keep producing offensively. He'll be physical. He will play sound away from the puck, and he will help this Islanders team without question and give them a little of the juice that they need. The other player, obviously, who's been out of the lineup a bit lately, the young player who I think is really helping this team, obviously, Oliver Wahlstrom, and the Islanders really, really need Wally back in the lineup. You look at the statistics, 8 goals, 15 points in 26 games, but here's the thing. For Oliver Wahlstrom, right now, Wally leads the Islanders in shots on goal. And here's a guy who has missed a number of games, still first on the team. More shots than Matthew Barzal, more shots than Kyle Palmieri, Anders Lee, Anthony Beauvillier, Brock Nelson, J.G. Pajot. The Islanders need Wally, a guy who's not afraid to shoot the puck, to go to the net, who has a heavy shot and really does add that element of offense. And again, Wahlstrom now getting more comfortable, getting more confident, really understanding where he fits in. And another benefit of Oliver Wahlstrom, 7 of his 15 points, almost half, have come when the Islanders are on the power play. And they benefit from having Wahlstrom out there and able to contribute on the power play. It makes a big difference to this team to have a guy like Wahlstrom out there. So Bellows and Wahlstrom out on the ice, on the active roster at the same time, I think that would help fortify the offense that this team needs to show they can provide. And those young players really are going to be difference makers for the New York Islanders as we move ahead to the next part of the schedule. So we'll keep an eye on them, but these are 3 young players who really do hold the key to the future of the New York Islanders. When we come back, we'll have our Islanders birthday of the day and more, so stay with us. More to come on the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number 1 spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website. To sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit, just use the promo code LOCKEDON to get started. That's Locked On. One word, you'll get your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit just for listening to the Locked On Islanders podcast. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take all of the advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. So check out BetOnline, where the game starts. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And we want to wish a very happy birthday to former Islanders forward Richard Zednik. Zednik, 46 years old today. And that is obviously, Islander fan, Richard Zednik. Why? Because only an Islander a brief period of time. And he was acquired at deadline in 2007, the same day that Ryan Smith was and not just to give Islanders a boost to the playoffs back in 2007. And look, Zednik came, did his job, didn't play with them for a long time. He was an Islander for season games, full 3 points, 2 penalty minutes, broke into the NHL after being drafted in the 10th round of the 1994 draft by the Washington Capitals. The native of Slovakia made his NHL debut, 1 game in 1995 with the Caps, moved all in 2000, 2001, and then back to Washington in 2006, 2007, was traded to the Islanders at the trade deadline, then went on to seasons with the Florida Panthers before going to the KHL, the Slovak League, and the Swedish Elite League to close out his career in 2010, 2011. For his NHL career, 745 games, 200 goals even, 379 points, 563 penalty minutes, had 48 Stanley Cup playoff games, 16 goals, 26 points. 5 of those playoff games came with the New York Islanders. We're going to look at one of the better games with the Isles. We take you to the St. Pete on March 20th. The Lightning, Rick DiPietro, the goal list, was in net for Tampa Bay, and only 1 goal in the first period. With Freddie Meyer off for holding, Eric Perrin scored a power play goal for the Lightning, his 12th from Jason Ward and Brad Richards at 9:20. 1-0 Tampa Bay, Islanders down 1 after 1. In the second period, Vincent Lecavalier scored his 49th goal of the year. Martin St. Louis and Doug Janik with the assists at 1:50. Isles down 2-0. Not looking so good. But 14 seconds after Lecavalier scores, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Richard Zednik gets his 7th goal of the year, his first as an Islander. Randy Robitaille, the only helper at 2:04. Islanders back in it, down 2-1. Then, midway through the second period, with Mike Sillinger off for hooking, Richard Park gets a shorthanded goal for the Islanders, his 6th. Ryan Smith and Tom Poti with the assist at 10:13. Tie game, Islanders 2 and the Lightning 2. Miro Shatan gives the Islanders the lead late in the second, his 25th from Viktor Kozlov and Richard Zednik, our Islanders' birthday of the day. Time of that goal, 17:24. Isles up 3-2 after 2. Things looking up. But in the third, Jason Ward ties it for Tampa Bay, his 5th. Ruslan Fedotenko and Dan Boyle with the helpers at 4:21. We go to overtime, tied at 3, and in the overtime, Philip Kuba wins it for Tampa Bay, his 12th from Eric Perrin and Brad Richards. Islanders fall in this one in OT, 4-3. They were outshot 40-24 in this game. Rick DiPietro, 36 saves. But for our Islanders' birthday of the day, Richard Zednik, 1 goal, 2 points, a +2, and he scored on one of the 2 shots on goal he took. So Zednik, in his brief 10-game stint with the Islanders, had 3 points, and 2 of them came in this particular game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Either way, we wish Richard Zednik a very happy 46th day. He is our Islander. We will have a current Islander as our Islanders' birthday of the day, so make sure you join us for that. Hopefully, the Islanders are going to put this practice time to very good use. There's a lot of things we've talked about power play, penalty kill, and obviously that transition game, something they've been doing better over the last 5 or 6 games, but it is really need to work on. And then I think the other thing is reactivate everybody, your teammates, once the team is full strength and has all of the players that they want to have available on the roster. It really does make a difference. There's no question about that. Thanks again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets. It's your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets is hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. Have a great day, everybody. We're sort of closing things out on this break, and the latest break that the Islanders have. Have a great day. Stay safe. Thanks for listening and being a member of the Locked On Islanders family. And, of course, let's go Islanders.